Once upon a time there was a very young alarm clock, and his name was Benjamin. They called him Baby Ben for short. Matter of fact, they called him other things too, in loud, angry voices. But Benjamin always tried to pretend that they were talking about somebody else. But Benji had a real problem. It had all started about a month ago, and it happened this way. His owner, Mr. Jones, went to bed around 11, and he had set the alarm for 7:15. But the trouble all began at 12 o'clock that night. Benji felt that his mainspring was wound up too tight. He just rocked back and forth on his sturdy brass stand, and this frightened the big black minute hand. It started going faster. Baby Ben was delighted. Hey, we're making time fly. He was very excited. All the night long, the minute hand went faster, until it was time to wake up the master. His tinny alarm sounded off with a clatter. And Mr. Jones said, "Dear me, what's the matter?" He shut it off sleepily. "I must be late. 7:10. My train leaves at 8. He hurried through breakfast. He left home on the run, and then he suddenly stopped. Where on earth is the sun? He trudged in the darkness all the way home, and he dialed correct time on the telephone.
At the very next signal, the time then will be exactly 5 minutes, 3 seconds past 3.
Mr. Jones raced upstairs, and he grabbed the clock. And what he did next gave Benji a shock. He twisted his stem and he rattled his gears until Benji the clock almost broke down in tears. Then he shifted both hands back to 3:05, and he told him how very ashamed he should be. He climbed back in bed and he went off to sleep. And Benji the clock never let out a peep. All night long, Benji's heart was sort of sick. He'd forgotten how a clock ought to tick. For a clock needs a tick that is steady and is true, or it isn't any good at all to you. The very next day he was popped in a sack and taken away in a new Pontiac to a jewelry shop on a cobblestone street, where Mr. Jones exchanged him for a paper receipt. The jeweler examined his tiny machine and oiled him and cleaned him, the usual routine. And then he spoke rather gruffly. "Look here, my young man, there's a few simple things that you don't understand about living a life that is true and reliable. I'd suggest that you learn a good verse in the Bible. Lie not one to another, Colossians 3:9. If you say this each day, why, I know you'll feel fine." All the way home, in the brown paper sack, Benji mumbled like some dipsomaniac. Lie not one to another, not to my sister or my mother, not to my father or my brother, not even my cousin or my great-grandmother. Lie not one to another. And from that day to this, Benji's tick has been steady. And when it was set, his alarm was ready. he learned how important it was to be true. Do you know that this verse was intended for you?